Hello YouTube, I am Matt and welcome to just another drop in the bucket. Welcome YouTube, this is Matt and this is just another drop in the bucket, and we are finishing up the Lamy nib reviews. Here in my one hand I have more nibs and I have two pens here in my other. Have a look down at the table as I finish up the review on how they write. Welcome back YouTube, this is Matt with just another drop in the bucket. Just for a little edification, anything that is not a single pen or ink is going to be another drop in the bucket because it is multiple things at one time. And if I'm doing a single pen, it will be a feather and inkwell fountain pen review. In this case, we're doing a review of all the Lamy Nibs. This is going to be the final one, and it is my opinion on multiple nibs, multiple pens, and how they perform on multiple types of paper. Wrapping up what we have so far, we have the Studio, which writing in a fine up here. We have it writing in a medium here. Now I will say this was from the tape, and I believe this to be a little bit impaired because it had stickiness in it. We wrapped up with the 14K nib last time and how it wrote on regular paper, and I have increased all the way down to this down here. So this is wrapping up with the broad and medium with the Lamy Studio, and those are the broad and medium nibs, stainless steel, and how they write. Now on these, this is 28-pound ultra white printer grade paper. Here on the broad has the most amount of ink that we currently have for any Lamy nib. We do not have any 1.1 stubs, we don't have any double broads, and I don't have an italic cursive to compare it with yet. Upcoming possibly, don't know yet. It does have some amount of feathering within it, and it is very, very broad. So the ink control is so flowing with both a Studio and a broad nib that it is past what a normal page can handle, and really almost the same level simply because of the flow level with a medium. Now it is a little bit better controlled, but it is past what a normal person would consider writing with on normal grade paper. Now there is less feathering on the medium one, so it's not completely out of control, but I believe the width of the text is past what you would normally have. Now, another thing to note is that having more ink and trying to get it to smudge like you do on fountain pen grade paper, it doesn't happen on normal paper. Now, this is because on fountain pen paper, most of them are sealed pages, and so it holds the ink up longer and lets it absorb slowly to help against feathering. On normal grade paper, ink is absorbed instantly, and that is where the feathering comes in, but it also keeps you from having an accurate smudge test. So this lets you write with a fountain pen as long as you're writing with either an extra fine or a fine. I don't recommend the medium necessarily unless you're perhaps using the Ion. The Ion has a smaller flow, and it could probably handle up to a medium nib. I did not try it because I just didn't want to have that much content out there. If anyone has an Ion and they want to run a medium through it, I think that would be a great test. Let me know. I'm keeping in, I believe this is an extra fine we have in it. It writes most like a ballpoint when you have an extra fine inside of this pen. Both the Lamy and the Ion are both cartridge converters, so we are talking about standard international for Lamy, and we're talking about that right there. And all these tests have been run using the Private Reserve Velvet Black ink, so it has the best chance of being used in what I would call office or professional settings. Now, this is a superior balance pen, the Studio, but the amount of ink it flows, if you're going to be writing on normal paper, I would strongly recommend the extra fine or fine. Going up to the medium is beyond what you would normally be able to write in, and I'm going to show you why. On the other side, ghosting is highly visible all the way up through the extra fine and fine. Coming down here into broad, we're starting to see a little bit of pass through. It's not full bleed, nothing got onto the page below like I'll show you, but the fact of the matter is it is highly visible on the other side once you bump up to that medium and broad amount of ink flow. So you'll be writing single-sided more than likely when you're writing with a fountain pen on just printer grade paper. Now, switching over to fountain pen grade, this medium here was the actual grade of medium. It 100% was. This was before I applied tape to it. So when I went back and I looked at it again, it's the same. You get the nice smudge test like you get out of normal fountain pen grade paper. You can see the medium has a nice even amount of line, just like you expect from a medium. It's not super broad, because on fountain pen grade paper that's sealed, like my favorite Rhodia here, it holds the ink up and lets it absorb slowly into the page. Coming down here at the bottom, we have the broad. It does also, I believe this to be quality of the ink. This exact ink is a little bit drier, being that it is black. It's not super wet like others, such as like we got with the dialogue. The dialogue right here, there you go. I have ancient copper, the diamine ancient copper, and it is a fairly wet ink. It will smudge and it will stay wet, and it shades a little bit when you have it flowing onto a good page like this. Coming back down to the broad, you could see it is a little bit broader, but it is not super broad like it is on a normal page. Again, qualities of fountain pen grade paper. Also, the benefit of writing on fountain pen grade paper, while it is visible, that is minorly visible. You could definitely write on the back side of this page, no problem, and you will not have to worry about reading one side text through the other. You could fully write on both sides with Rhodia paper. That is the benefit to writing with any fountain pen on really high quality paper. Again, 96 GSM, whether it be a spongy grade paper, or a coarser paper, or even my Rhodia that's super smooth. Writing with Clairefontaine, which is also a high GSM paper. All those are slick, very sealed pages and offer a premium writing experiences with a fountain pen. Even Tamili River, even though it is a thinner page, a little bit lower GSM, it is a sealed page and it can handle ink on both sides without it bleeding and showing a lot of x-ray vision, if you will, ghosting. So again, this is a little bit drier ink, so even though I did lay down a lot of ink with a broad, it did not super smudge like it does with different amounts. Now up here, I'm not sure how we got this much ink. That just was a great amount of flow. I completely flushed out the studio since it had gotten gooped up, and I believe it just is a matter of the ink and how much is put on the page. This particular broad doesn't like super flow, but maybe our medium flows better. It just is a broader text. So overall, what would I say? If you want to write on fountain pen grade paper, you have your selection: extra fine, fine, medium, broad, anything you want. It will handle it all. If you're going to be given copies, if you're going to be given copies, I recommend extra fine or fine, regardless of which pen it is. Feel free to use your fountain pens and any ink you like, but you're going to have to be conscious of the amount of ink flow so that you don't wind up with things bleeding through the page. And that concludes my Lamy Nib reviews.